start off session. My name is Meg. I work at Oxfam International as a culture, and I'm joined today with remarkable friends that we have on the way. Can introduce themselves. Amjad.
Hi everyone, I'm Amjad Salim.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, great. I manage the Inclusion Protection Engagement Unit.
I don't know.
The International Federation of Workforce.
Any challenges with this internet as well. We can start with Charlotte.
I can hear Amjad.
Yeah, Amjad is there.
Oh, you can. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I can hear
Maybe it's me. Okay, all right.
Hi everyone, Charlotte Tokyo, working under Amjad Salim in the Inclusion Protection and Engagement Unit at the IFRC, and I am in charge of the education portfolio.
Okay. Thanks, Charlotte. John?
Yeah, hi everyone. John Horsley. I am working on learning and organizational development with Oxfam.
Lydia?
I'm Lydia Doe. I'm the People and Culture Manager for the Ghana Country Program for Oxfam.
Yeah, thanks, Lydia. And Amjad? I don't know if you mentioned it because I couldn't quite hear.
I'll try again. So I'm Amjad Salim. I manage the Inclusion Protection Engagement Unit at the International Federation of Workforce Records based in Geneva. Good to see everyone.
The session and welcome to this session. So this session, I would like it wouldn't have been possible without the efforts by colleagues from IFRC and Oxfam International, and also being represented here, Oxfam Great Britain. So thank you so much for introducing yourselves. So in this session, what we want to delve into is really to understand how we can create this inclusive, accessible, and safe culture that we want to resonate with within our organizations. And indeed, our NGOs often struggle. NGOs as well, the local NGOs also struggle to justify the contradicting behaviors and attitudes allowed within our organizations and those expected of us by the communities we serve and the society we live in, and even the donors who support us with our work. So we acknowledge the existence of internal ethics and standards that we have developed in our own organizations and all the work that has been put towards transforming our cultures. Yet, we also see that there's a behavioral gap between individual values of the aid or humanitarian workers and the values our organizations uphold or desires to live by. So today's session is aimed at going deeper into discussions to unearth the root causes of this dilemma. So the aim of the workshop is to practically look at what we can do as individuals and as a collective towards addressing this behavioral gap dilemma. So we invite you to an engaging 90 minutes that will get you interacting and learning from each other. And we hope that the experience will result in idea generation, relationships, because you're in the company of people who are really passionate about culture change within their own organizations. So I will Charlotte to take us through a bit of the session.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks very much for this introduction. Indeed, we thought it would be nicer to for this session to be interactive, and so we therefore propose to you to get into a Mentimeter poll so that we will reflect together, or at least give you a chance already to express in a few words what you think about your organization's culture and where you would like it to be in the future. I invite you to click on the link that is provided by Meg. And then you'll have to, I think you'll have to enter the code exactly that Meg has just shared in the chat. Once you enter there, you'll see two questions. And I think Meg will share her screen afterwards. the first question we would like you very is, what are the words that you would use to describe your organization's culture as it exists, as you see it, as you perceive it currently? Please feel free to just put whichever words comes to your mind. Okay, I'm not seeing any more words popping up, so let us just continue with the second question. The second question we would like you to answer is, what culture would we like to see in our organizations, or what culture would you like to see in your organizations? Same as earlier, please enter the words that come to your mind as you reflect on this question, and then we'll discuss them together. All right, so maybe let's go back to the previous slide. The idea of this session is, as we were saying, is for it to be interactive, and we're using this word cloud in order to kick off the conversation with all of you. Maybe first, we would like to invite some people to potentially speak to some of the words that have come across quite strongly. So for instance, we see that some of the words that we are commonly using to describe our organization's culture include bureaucratic or paternal or hierarchical or supportive as well. Are there any of you who would like to speak onto some of these words that you have written? I see bureaucratic is coming quite a number of times. I see hierarchical as well, came a number of times as well. I see someone is sharing that professionalization has led to more and more paperwork, hence potentially the link with the bureaucratic word. Indeed, are there other views that you would like to express? If you want to speak, please do ask to share your audio and video so that we can hear you. Otherwise, you can also continue writing in the chat, but as many of you would share, as best the session will be. Please, Madam, come on, we're listening to you.
Okay, my name is Olabimpe Shongwawa. I'm actually just about 3 months in this sector. I was just hired in January, so it's all very new to me, and this is part of my onboarding, to be honest. But what I've observed is the hierarchical nature. It's like there's a senior management team above, which is normal for leadership and decision making, but everything needs to, be bounced off them. Everything needs to go through that specific hierarchy. You can't sometimes be innovative and just think outside the box and make small changes. Why? And my perception is donor requirements, audit issues, So I just feel, since joining my organization, that this sector is very guarded. Everything is like, it has to be done this way. There's no room for flex. And, and that sort of, for me, kills creativity and kills innovation eventually in things that we do. So that's what I see as the hierarchical. And I think the hierarchical nature also feeds into the bureaucracy. Yeah, you have to sign things off, and somebody called it professionalism. I've heard that buzzword since I joined as well, or professionalization, sorry. So yeah, we want to document everything. Everything must be done appropriately. So this is what I meant when I wrote those 2 words. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for coming in and sharing already. Really nice. And thanks for your inputs. I'm seeing in the chat as well, a number of people seems to be converging in this idea that whether we call it bureaucratic or hierarchical or professionalization or traditional event, and that somehow we would like, we're seeing that this paperwork or compliance culture is increasingly showing our lack of flexibility, and also potentially to take back Olabimpe's words, killing innovation and preventing new ideas to be encouraged, tested. All right. Thanks a lot for sharing. Maybe let's do the same with the next slide. So let's look at the words that were coming up when you were thinking of what you would like the culture in your organizations to be or to be more of. So of course here we're saying inclusive, collaborative. I see trust coming as well, popping up a number of times. Safe, I can see as well, supportive, equitable, kind and respectful or open, like culture of dialogue, for instance, flexible, of course, that probably echoes what we were talking about. Are there some people as well, like we did previously, who would like to share as well their views or expand a bit more and explain some of the words that came to their mind in regards to this? That would be really great, either in the chat or if you want to share orally, also please feel free to just ask to share your audio and video, and we'll be pleased to listen to you. Oh, come on, I'm sure you have plenty of things to say on what you would like the culture to be. You had plenty of things to say of how it currently is, so I'm sure you also potentially have plenty of things to explain about how you would like it to be more. I see someone else was sharing in the chat that the issues of power and competition is also one affecting our sector because of reduction of funding in particular, as mentioned. Yes, please, dear, if you would like to say something, say it. We're listening for approval to say something. Apologies. I'm not the one in control of that.
I think is there a way? Yeah, I think.
Hi. Oh, yeah. Hi. Good morning or good afternoon. Good day to all of you. Really nice to be here. One of the things that immediately popped up in my mind, and that's also a culture we're really steering for, is a culture of belonging, looking at the international context we work in. And I really believe it's super important that everyone can be and feel respected for who we all are, professionally, personally. Yeah, so that's something that is truly important. And I think any culture should be safe also to support that. So that was another thing that immediately popped up. And then the third one that I wrote was a culture of ethics, and that also relates to the importance of integrity, responsible fundraising, working the work that we do is based on human rights and humanitarian principles, and an ethical culture for me really fits, is an important condition for that, I would say, to truly do a good job. Thanks.
Thanks a lot for sharing. I think there's someone else waiting to get approval to speak. Let's see if we manage to get her on the line.
Well, before she gets on, let me just quickly say this. Again, I'm new, so just take my words lightly, but my perception coming outside in, when I say inclusive, is I get the sense, because I'm in HR, that there's a dichotomy with HQ and the countries, especially depending on the size of your NGO. And if you have country offices and you have a headquarters. So I would really like that fusion of the two sides to be one company and the same standards, same processes, as much as you can help, because legislative requirements sometimes do not let you do the same things across companies, but there should be a standard across, well-being, some things, benefits. I really just believe we should make the countries that we're serving and the headquarters more inclusive. That's what I meant when I wrote that. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for sharing. Did we manage to get some Ruti Patel with us? Yes, please go ahead.
Great, thank you. Sorry about that. Don't know what happened. Actually, I've been doing a lot of work on some of these issues, and perhaps one of the biggest thing is how do we get ourselves back to why we came in the sector, why we are working on these things. I think we often don't get connected to that. So we're so busy doing that we don't focus on, what are the values of the organization and how are we practicing them. So it's really creating that culture where, we really regularly have conversations, showing that care. And I was thinking, how often do the meetings or anything start with finding out how people are, right? We go straight to the agenda and the business. So it's also about how can we show that care and have that as a culture, right? In every meeting, that's the first thing you do. And that sets such a different tone to all the things that you do in your intention in that meeting or the things that you have to do. So I think we need to focus more of that and have regular conversations between the management and the staff on this part, because I feel that doesn't come into the conversation because we're so busy doing that we are not focusing on how we are being with each other. Thanks
for sharing. I see Kelly O'Donnell as well joined us. Who would like to share something? Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Just to check my audio, okay?
And listen, yeah, we can hear you well.
Yeah, thank you. I remember I'm appreciating our discussion, and thanks for persevering to get us to talk more. I remember a discussion with Melissa Pilotti about a year ago, and the word love came up right away. And love is actually like a diagram or a big emphasis that was included in the Working Well step report. And it sounds kind of soft, perhaps, or mushy, or religious, or who knows what. But love just describes a lot of the types of things we're yearning for, not just in life, but in our culture. The other thing I want to say, as well as effectiveness and working hard and sacrificially, I always include that when I start talking about organizational culture and staff well-being, because we do have a task and we want to do our task well. And well-being, of course, goes into that equation significantly, but I can't separate effectiveness and task from love in the broadest sense, how we get along with one another, how we love the recipients of our work and so forth. So just a little thought there.
Thanks a lot. I think that's brilliant, because I can see now how much we have energized ourselves and are getting ready for the next part. Just before we move on, I also would like to acknowledge those who shared things in the chat. We have Hope, who shared as well the importance of talking more about language, making sure that language is debated, because otherwise we may be marginalized because of language, as language defines also who we are and it needs to be understood. We also have Josephine, who shared with us the need for four particular areas to be fulfilled: physical safety, psychological safety, social safety, moral safety, making sure that we can be free to speak our mind, to express ourselves and our idea, that we will be trusted and not judged for what we're saying or just the way we are, and that we need to be supported in what we believe and what we would like to put forward. I hope I haven't distorted what was shared. Hope is also adding the importance of artistic expression, the appreciation for artistic expression as part of organizational culture, and about the way we connect at the soul level. So maybe also similarly to what was shared by Kelly around the aspect of love and the sense of belonging, also shared by a number of others. Some are adding on care, we should lead by providing decent benefits for our own staff. The need also for the fact that we need to talk more about core values and principles, and being able to be the change we want to see, to embody these values and make sure that they happen in our everyday way of working or talking to each other, even within the work environment, and encouraging creativity and welcoming new ideas by including rewarding them, for instance. I think that's really a good start for what will come next. So I'll pass over to John for some further continued conversation on all of this. Over to you, John. Thanks a lot for your sharings.
Thanks very much, Charlotte, and thanks to everyone for setting the scene so nicely. So we've talked a bit now about what culture we actually have in our organizations and what culture we would like to see, and we've already started looking at how we might move from one to the other. So how we might move from a culture of hierarchy and bureaucracy to one of inclusiveness and collaboration, for example. And we're going to give all of you a chance to get into smaller groups to talk more about the how we're going to how we're trying to move from one to the other, and what are some of the challenges that we're facing in our efforts to make the shift. Some of you would have been in the panel discussion on culture and culture change and behavior change in organizations yesterday. We had Marianne and Hope were joined by Oscar and Nadia for a discussion on this question. We're going to build today on that discussion and on the conversation that we've started just now in our small groups. Yesterday there was some interesting discussion around, does mindset change, does changing ideas and beliefs lead to behavior change, or vice versa? The idea of kind of modeling the behaviors that we want to see, and this notion of culture character Tosca introduced, who can kind of do this modeling, and how this is a kind of bottom-up as well as a top-down process. That leadership is key, but it can come from different parts of an organization. And we began to talk about, so how can we make space for culture change? By being realistic and honest about our actual culture, and not just repeating nice words about the culture that we want to see, by making culture less fuzzy, more tangible. So looking at what humor is allowed, the facts, what are the objects, the pictures, and in working, and then in culture change in our organizational systems and processes, as Olavinte was alluding to. And then also, can we have different cultures in different parts of an organization, and does that matter? And can we have a shared culture across the humanitarian ecosystem? And I think that's a topic that we'll come back to. And the idea that perhaps principles and values, because culture will be shaped by so many different factors, that we may not be able to influence it. And being realistic about timeframes, of this being a long endeavor, and how it could 5 to 7 years of really behaviors to begin to shift the culture. And then how do we call out bad behavior? Or as a colleague of mine says, calling in about behavior from a place, actually, as Kelly was saying. This was some of the thoughts. There was a very rich discussion. I'd encourage, if you weren't able to attend, to have a look at the recording of that. So today we're going to, as I say, break up into smaller groups, and we're going to be looking at 4 questions. The first is, just as I've said, how can we move from what we describe as the current culture in our organizations to the culture we want to see? What obstacles or barriers are you facing as you try to do this? And how can you overcome those barriers? How can you tackle those? And then what are the kind of tools? What are the practical things that you're currently using or exists out there to help you to work on culture change? So those questions on a Miro board will be shared with you. And I think that Marianne is going to help us to set up the breakout rooms. So Marianne, over to you.
Yeah, so this is, yeah, so the breakout room. So most people who are on this call has been allocated a breakout room. This is just at random, and I just had to do it manually because this Hopin doesn't have like the Zoom thing where you just go to the breakouts. So what it is you in the chat, I've posted each of the breakout groups. There's the first one is 3 minutes ago up the chat with Lydia. It has Josephine, David, Carla, Heather, Sophia, and Chicha. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. If you click on that link, you will go to that session. If you don't get straight to the session, you see like a blank screen, just refresh the link and that should take you into the session with Lydia. So Lydia, you might want to go now because those people might start going there. And then when you come back to this session link, and you can actually do that on your browser. You can just go back. Then the second breakout with Amjad, Olabimpe, Leanne, I think, Natalia, Will, Colleen, Gazelle. And if you're not hearing your name, don't worry, I'm going to give you a breakout room shortly because a few people joined as I was doing this. And then Charlotte, so Smruti, Christopher, Helen, Eunice, Vicky, and Sharina. And then John there, Clarice, Chamutu. Again, I'm not sure if I'm saying your name correctly, and apologies if I'm not. Honor, Jana, Bavika. And then Meg's room, Nobesutu, Stephen, Kelly, Ayushi, and Hope. And I'm here. If you've not been sent to a breakout room, then please let me know in the chat, and I will give you a breakout room by, okay. I'm going to wait until I see all the people in the chat, and then I'm going to kind of give you each a room to go to. Okay.
Great. So thank you everyone for coming back. I hope you all had good conversations, and apologies for any of the technical challenges that you experienced in joining or there. So I mean, we have some time now just for a wind up in terms of some of the key points from the discussions, and really we have two questions: is what do you think we can do as a collective following on from here? Where do we go from here effectively? And so I'd like to invite you to either put in the chat what would be good, or to us to share your video and audio. In my group, there was some really interesting discussions around, needing to model that change, to talk around what the change would be, but also recognizing that there's a lot of responsibility that's often placed on the leader of the organization, whether it's the CEO, and often that is unrealistic, right? Because one person cannot be expected to shoulder the whole burden of everyone, from staff well-being to looking at the donors to doing everything else. And so how do we create a system that shares that type of responsibility, and that also rewards and recognizes people's talents and promotes that, right? And how do we create those safe spaces and those brave spaces to have these conversations? So I mean, there were a couple of things there, and obviously this is the start for us of the process. So we're really keen to hear from you as to what you think we can go from here, and where you think the next steps are. So please, Lin-Chu, please. Yes, please go ahead.
I think I may be not supposed to be in this group. I thought everybody wants to come back to this big group, but this is
no, you're not. No, you can. This is we're now the plenary, right? So we're having a conversation around what has been discussed.
This is a plenary?
Yeah.
We're in the plenary.
Very few people.
I think they're the people in the room, but I think we there. Okay, great. We have Kelly as well. So maybe Kelly would like to share some thoughts on where we go from here.
Yeah, thank you. Trying to just share one concrete step or principle, really. And let me just preface my one point by saying my wife and I are clinical psychologists, and one of the areas we work in is personal and organizational integrity and anti-corruption. And a huge part of the social psychology research related to this really shows across cultures all of our propensity for self-deception, self-justification, and rationalization. So we do that at an individual, an institutional, and an international level, and everything in between, in order to protect ourselves. Now, there's other more inherently good, virtuous qualities, of course, about ourselves, our institutions, and so on. So I just want to flag that research-based reality about the relevance of integrity and our struggles for integrity and integrity in our organizations. Having said that, my one concrete suggestion, and I put it in the chat, is to really learn from some of our larger organizations in the sector, such as Oxfam, when they make major mistakes, when they cover up, when people are being exploited, and they get called out for it. And there's legal and ethical consequences, but rather than hiding or minimizing or self-justifying, they make sincere, publicly accountable efforts to change and to improve their organizations and their cultures, transparency, accountability. So my suggestion is that we all learn from an organization like Oxfam and use that as a case study, use it as a mirror to look at our own realities within our own lives as individuals in the aid sector, at the institutional level, at the leadership level, and indeed across the entire sector. Just a thought.
No, thank you, Kelly. That's very useful. And I this idea of acknowledging failure, right? Acknowledging those mistakes. I mean, it's part of an innovation thinking, right? Where you make a mistake and then you learn from a mistake because you're this. But I think there is, and this is not just with organizations, but just across the NGO sector and then with the donors, there's this fear of acknowledging failure because of repercussions of finances, right? And I think that's a wider conversation that collectively we need. How do we push back to our donors and to our to those who are supporting us to kind of say, look, we can also make. There have been failures that have been made, but we've learned from it and we're moving forward. And I think that's a great kind of mindset to shift on, that sharing of lessons. And then part of that is that do we collectively should we be looking at something coming out of this that where we can share those lessons in a safe space where it's not at least in the initial stages, that something that people think that some of those lessons there that are coming up, that groups like what we have today, we have 34 people on the call, that maybe we can have that safe space to have those lessons shared, and so it's not going to come back on you to kind of say, oh my God, this guy is just complaining about his organization and that. So because I think there's that fear, right? So maybe that's something that we can think about is how do we grow a group like that, and whether people on the call feel that that's something that there's a gap for. And I can see in the chat as well that there may be some agreements there to share experiences to create that space to share that. Anyone else would like to share from your perspective? And I'm also inviting my fellow colleagues here who, from your groups, if anything came up that you felt was quite insightful, that you thought might be useful as well to bring to the wider group. John, Charlotte, Meg, Lydia, I know that you were in my group, so.
I mean, just to say that you know, from the very brief time that we had together as a group, there was just so much richness, you know, in the discussion, and so many, you know, really kind of tangible experiences that we could build on, that it would be great, you know, to continue.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that one of the things that we want to do, and I'm not sure, I think Meg, at the end, you probably will invite people is to see what other follow-ups we can do. But I am conscious of time, because we are supposed to have a stop at 12, but I'm not sure whether we're able to maybe go a few minutes over if people want to. But if there's anyone else who would like to share some thoughts on the chat, or jump onto the asking to share your screen and audio, please do so. And
just to, I just wanted to say on the continuation, you can continue. There's no actual stop on the session, so
okay,
you can continue as long as people want to be engaging on this. I think our next session is at 1 o'clock Geneva time, which is, I was getting a bit confused. I was thinking it's now, but it's not. There's another hour.
No, it's an hour. Yeah, it's an hour.
So there's time and space, basically.
Great, thank you so much, Marianne. So anyone else would like to share some thoughts on the chat, or you would like to jump online? It's just okay. What practically do you think we can go from here in terms of moving forward? Charlotte, anything from your group that came up?
Yeah, if apologies. Yeah, I think like John, I can just only echo how rich the discussion was in terms of exchange of views, ideas, experiences. We had some specific tools that were mentioned, including among the multi-layer approach of Oxfam with regards to, for instance, the Oxfam citizenship system that they are applying for personal level. We also had great insights on the need to really move from the duty of care perspective rather to the ethics of care, and to really allow people to have the space to not to just be considered as people supposed to perform on the work in the exact way as it is prescribed by the leaders, but rather open at least for dialoguing about it, about the way we work, about how we want to do it, about transforming the work prescriptions, or let's say the job, into something that is more of also a personal journey and a journey with others that we are taking. And really the need for this kind of space to be created for people to feel safe to explain as well, and also not just for work related aspects, but also recognizing and questioning if our expectations and or the expectations that are being brought in our sector in terms of the timelines, the work, the amount of workload, etc., that we are given, is it really realistic? So that was kind of some of the insights and directions that our conversation went into, and also about the sensitivity of culture change, of the fact that it's hard sometimes to picture how we can move maybe from an old-fashioned way of considering our culture into something that will be more appropriate for the future, and having that future foresight kind of vision as well, and to steer us in a direction to be able to define what is the model we want, to define what we aspire to, and be able to then work towards that in a step-by-step process, so that everybody who embarks on it sees progress as they move on, and are encouraged to continue to engage, to support, to volunteer for it wherever they are in an organization, and then contributes to that ultimate broader objective and goal, which would then be clear to everyone. I think these are some of the things that were mentioned by the people in my group. I hope I have been faithful to what was said. And of course, if you want to add to that, and you can still stay a little bit for a few minutes, feel free to just jump in and add on to what I was sharing.
Great. No, thank you so much, Charlotte. That's really excellent points there. And hoping that that we will capture that and move them forward. I think this idea of creating that safe space and brave space is coming up more and more, both within organizations but also between there. And Kelly has also shared some really interesting book references there that I encourage people to see whether you can get to. The first one, which mistakes were made but not by me, I think it's quite an apt title there. So I think it's something that we can look at. So in the interest of time, if people are okay to stay on, or we can look at the next steps. I mean, one thing that both Oxfam and IFRC, of course, we're coming at this trying to have a honest and open conversation about where we can move on this. And there is some thinking about whether we should or whether we can do or open up some sort of space for this type of collaboration. Maybe I don't want to use the word community of practice because it's an overused word within the sector, but creating this space and this group where we can have these conversations and have these honest conversations and really share these ideas. And so, one thing that we are looking to do is to continue this conversation, at least between our organizations, but to invite others as well to be part of that. So one thing that as we move forward, very very practically from our end, is we want to continue this conversation that we've had today, that was started yesterday as well with the panel. And so we also want to invite you to join us in that sort of conversation and that sharing of ideas, and creating that safe space to really reflect on failures and making mistakes. So in the spirit of that, we would we were hoping to use the Miro board to have people to sign up, but I think there's been some technical issues. So what I'd love to do is, if you are interested, as Meg has put, please share your name on the chat. We will also put our emails on the chat that you can get in touch with us directly, either Meg, Charlotte, myself, Lydia, any one of us. You can get in touch with us, and we're happy to create that conversation. We really want to do this. This is not just from an organizational perspective. This is really, I think, something that we all personally are invested in, because we really feel like we do need to have this culture shift. We also want to learn from each other, and we also feel that there is a need to kind of share these ideas with each other. And as both John and Charlotte have said, that the conversations were rich because you also bring that experience, right? So it's something that we also want to learn from you. So please do kind of share your details with us, and please do stay in touch. With that, maybe Meg, I don't know whether you are able now to log on. And yes, great.
Yeah, I'm back.
I'm going to thank everyone and hand back to Meg, who's been the driving force bringing this together for the final word. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you so much, Amjad, and thank you for everyone who's really been able to stay with us and go through all this conversation and discussion. And we would love to continue these conversations. And I know we can be vulnerable enough to share what are the mistakes we've made, what have we learned from those mistakes. And so we would really appreciate if you'd to join that space with us. We've started this journey with IFRC. We're looking forward to what we can do with every other organization who that is open to doing this with us. So please do let us know, and we will reach out and potentially meeting. And thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I think, Meg, we kind of lost you a little bit there, but thanks everyone. Have a good weekend, and please do stay in touch and stay safe and sane with everything there.
Thank you all so much. No, thank you all so much for offering this space. And yeah, we apologize for any technical difficulties, and we will also make sure we keep this, all your emails, so that we can pass them on to you, so you can engage around that. And also, if anyone needs anything, you can always email us at compassionateorgs@chsalliance.org. I think it is the one that's on all the emails. If you've missed anything here and you want to get in touch, we can always pass on introductions. So stay well, and the next session starts at the next hour. So there's a little break now. Enjoy, and we'll see you later. Thanks.
Thank you,
Marianne.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Bye.